I never thought moving in with my new roommate would completely rewrite who I was. At first, she just seemed cool. Confident, stylish, effortlessly charming. The kind of girl who walks into a room and instantly owns it. Her name was Lena, and within a week of living together, I realized she had a way of making everyone around her bend to her rhythm, including me. The morning it all started felt ordinary enough. I woke up groggy, my head heavy after another late-night study session. My eyes fluttered open, and I stumbled toward the bathroom. I wasn't even fully awake when I froze in front of the mirror. At first, I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. My reflection looked different. My usually messy brown hair was smoothed down, styled with a slight wave. My eyebrows, normally a disaster, were neat and shaped. There was a faint tint on my lips, almost like I was wearing gloss. "What the?" I muttered, leaning closer. Then I noticed my nails. Pink. Perfectly shaped and polished. My heart started to pound. "Lena!" I shouted. She appeared in the doorway, towel around her neck, smiling like a cat that had just finished playing with its prey. "Morning, sunshine," she said. What is this?" "My nails? My hair." "Oh, that? You passed out on the couch last night, remember? You said you trusted me to help you clean up a bit." I blinked. "I didn't mean this." She just shrugged. "Relax. It's not permanent. I just thought it'd be fun to see what you'd look like if you cared." Her teasing tone should have annoyed me, but something about the way she looked at me, that playful confidence, made my words die in my throat. Then she handed me her phone. "Smile," she said. Before I could protest, click. "There. My little experiment." She smirked and walked away. I stood there staring at my reflection again. It wasn't just the hair or the nails. It was me. But softer. Almost like a version of myself I'd never dared to imagine. The next day at campus was torture. Lena had convinced me to just go as you are since the nail polish would take time to remove. Every time I typed on my laptop, I could feel the eyes of people around me. "Dude, what's with the nails?" one of my friends joked. I mumbled something about losing a bet. But Lena's teasing didn't stop when we got home. "Oh, come on," she said that night as I tried to scrub off the polish. "It suits you. You looked cute today, admit it." I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, right." "Fine," she said, crossing her arms. "If you hate it so much, I'll stop." "But," she paused, leaning in close, "you did keep checking yourself out in the mirror this morning." I froze. "No, I didn't." She smirked. "Sure." That was the thing about Lena. She saw people. She noticed the small hesitations, the cracks in your armor, the things you didn't even admit to yourself. Over the next few days, she kept finding excuses to push the boundary. One morning, she asked me to help her choose between two dresses. Then she asked me to just hold this up to see which color looked better on me. Then it was, "Let's do a skincare night. Come on, it's just moisturizer." Each step felt harmless, until it wasn't. Because one night, she looked at me with that same mischievous grin and said, "You know, if we put a little makeup on you, you'd totally pass as my girlfriend. Just for fun, of course." I laughed. "That's ridiculous." She didn't laugh. "Prove me wrong," she said. That was how it began, the night I let Lena transform me. We started small. Foundation. Concealer. She explained everything as she went, her voice calm and teasingly patient. Her fingers brushed against my skin as she worked, and my pulse quickened. "Relax," she whispered, blending near my jawline. "You're tense." When she finished, she handed me the mirror. My breath caught. I didn't look like a caricature or a joke. I looked pretty. In an unfamiliar, impossible way. The face looking back wasn't the me I knew. The jaw seemed softer. The lips fuller. The eyes, alive with something new. Lena grinned. "See? Told you. You make a gorgeous girlfriend." I laughed nervously. "You're insane." "Maybe," she said, "but you're not denying it." The next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about that reflection. At night, when Lena went out, I'd quietly slip into her room, open her vanity drawer, and just experiment. Lip gloss. A touch of mascara. Maybe a brush of blush. Each time, I'd stare into the mirror longer. The person looking back started to feel less like a stranger and more like someone I wanted to know. It wasn't about being someone else. It was about finding a version of me that had been buried under years of expectations. Then, one night, Lena caught me. She didn't yell. Didn't tease. She just leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, smiling softly. I was wondering when you'd stop pretending you weren't curious. I froze. Lena, I just. Relax, she said, walking closer. You look beautiful. Want me to help? And before I could say no, she was brushing my hair, pinning a small clip to the side, then pulling out a soft pink dress from her closet. Try it. My hands trembled. Lena. Trust me, she whispered. I slipped it on. The fabric hugged me differently. Soft, light, flowing. When I turned toward the mirror this time, I gasped. I didn't see myself. I saw someone who could exist freely, without the weight of who they were supposed to be. Lena stepped behind me, resting her chin on my shoulder. Her voice was almost tender. Perfect. For a long moment, we just stood there, me, staring at this new reflection, her hand resting lightly on my arm. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about how right it had felt, and how wrong that should have felt. Over the next week, it became our secret routine. When classes ended, Lena would grin and say, "Girlfriend time." And somehow, I always said yes. She taught me how to walk in heels, how to match tones, how to carry myself differently. It started as play, but it became something else. I started to feel more confident. The shyness that usually held me back faded when I was her. When I looked in the mirror and saw soft hair brushing my shoulders, a warm smile painted with gloss, and eyes that sparkled with quiet confidence. We went out one weekend. Not far, just to a cafe where no one knew us. Lena dared me to go as her girlfriend. I was terrified. What if someone recognizes me? I whispered. She smirked. Then they'll just see a cute girl having coffee. Relax. You're beautiful. Her words shouldn't have meant so much, but they did. When we stepped into that cafe, every sound seemed louder, every step felt heavier. But then Lena laughed, guiding me to a seat, her hand brushing mine. And for a moment, I forgot my fear. No one stared. No one laughed. The barista even smiled and said, "You two make a cute couple." Lena winked. Told you so. When we walked home that night, my heart was pounding, not from fear, but exhilaration. Something had shifted inside me. I didn't want to go back. But every secret eventually slips. It happened one evening when my best friend, Mark, showed up unannounced. Lena and I were in the middle of getting ready, me already dressed, makeup done, hair curled. When the doorbell rang, I panicked. "Don't open it," I whispered. Too late. Lena smirked. "Relax." She opened the door. Mark's eyes widened as he saw me standing there, frozen in the middle of the living room, wearing a soft blue dress and trembling. "Bro, what the hell?" I wanted to sink into the floor. "Mark, I can explain." He looked between us. "Explain?" "You're dressed like. Lena stepped in. "Like himself," she said firmly. "Herself," I corrected softly before I even realized what I'd said. Silence. Lena's eyes met mine, warm, proud, and quietly approving. Mark stared, speechless. Then shook his head. "I don't get it, man." "I don't expect you to," I said quietly. "But it's not a joke. It's just me." He left soon after, and I collapsed onto the couch, shaking. Lena sat beside me, gently taking my hand. "You did amazing." "I ruined everything," I whispered. "No," she said. "You told the truth." And for the first time, I realized she was right. That night, I looked in the mirror again, really looked. I saw the fear, yes, but also courage. The kind I didn't know I had. From that night forward, I stopped hiding. I didn't go all in overnight, but I stopped pretending. Lena helped me build confidence, not just in appearance, but in being authentic. We went shopping together, tried new styles, experimented with looks. But more than anything, she helped me see that being myself wasn't something to fear. Eventually, I even went back to campus presenting the way I felt most comfortable. Some people whispered. Others didn't recognize me at first. But Lena was always there, grinning proudly from the sidelines, daring me to keep walking. And I did. One day, She turned to me and said, "You realize you're not my experiment anymore, right?"
I laughed.
"What do you mean?"
She smiled softly. "You're not the person I made.
"You're the person you chose to become."
I didn't know what to say.
So I just smiled back and hugged her. Looking back now, I realized that Lena didn't make me her perfect girlfriend. She helped me uncover a version of myself I'd never believed could exist.
It wasn't about clothes or makeup. It was about freedom.
Freedom to explore.
To express. To be.
Sometimes, the people who challenge us the most are the ones who see who we truly are before we do. And if you'd told me a year ago that I'd find confidence, happiness, and maybe even love, all by becoming the person I once thought I could never be,
I would have laughed. But now, when I look in the mirror,
I don't see a stranger.
I see me. And she's finally smiling back.
The first time I truly saw myself smile, not out of habit, but because I meant it, was the morning after everything changed. The sunlight was filtering through the curtains, painting soft gold patterns across my blanket. I sat at the vanity, brushing through my hair, half in disbelief that this reflection, this calm, confident version of me, was real. Behind me, Lena's reflection appeared in the mirror. She was leaning against the door frame, coffee mug in hand, wearing that same teasing grin I'd grown so used to.
"Someone looks happy," she said. I smiled faintly.
"Maybe I am."
She tilted her head. "About time."
It was such a simple exchange, but it felt different. The air between us had changed, not charged, not tense, just full. Like there was something unspoken that neither of us was ready to name yet. The weeks that followed were quiet, but meaningful. I started to notice small things that used to slip past me, the way the morning air felt against my skin after a shower, how it felt to wear clothes that actually made me feel comfortable, how a touch of lipstick could change my mood entirely. And Lena was always there, not hovering, but close.
Guiding. Supporting.
Watching me step into myself one choice at a time. We'd sit on the balcony some evenings, sipping tea, our conversations drifting between jokes and deep confessions. "Do you ever wonder," I asked one night, "what made you want to help me in the first place?"
She thought for a moment, looking out into the city lights.
"I didn't want to help you," she said softly. "I wanted you to see what I saw."
I frowned. "And what's that?"
Her eyes turned to me, steady, kind. "Someone who deserves to exist exactly as they are."
I didn't know how to respond.
I just looked down, hiding the warmth in my cheeks behind my mug.
Some days, we didn't talk much at all.
We'd be studying on opposite ends of the couch, the quiet filled only by the sound of typing or the hum of music from her phone. And yet, those were the moments that made me feel the most at peace. Once, while I was trying to focus on an assignment, I caught her watching me, not in the way someone stares, but in that way people look when they are quietly proud. "What?"
I asked, half laughing.
She shook her head, smiling. "Nothing. Just, you seem lighter lately."
I smiled back.
"That's your fault."
Her voice softened. "Good."
Then I did something right. It was strange, how simple words could mean so much. Of course, not everything was easy. Rumors spread around campus faster than I could keep up with. Whispers in hallways, laughter that stopped when I entered a room.
Some people who used to greet me started avoiding me altogether.
One afternoon, after a particularly hard day, I came home to find Lena sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by fabric and scissors. She looked up. "Bad day?"
I nodded, dropping my bag with a sigh.
"People can be cruel."
She motioned for me to sit beside her.
"That's why we make our own world," she said. "Now help me, I'm fixing this top." I sat with her on the floor, and for the next hour, we talked, laughed, stitched, and forgot about everything else. By the end of the night, she handed me the finished piece, a soft lilac blouse.
"Try it," she said.
When I slipped it on, it fit perfectly.
She smiled. "See?
The world doesn't get to define you. You do." And for the first time that day, I believed her. Our connection deepened quietly, like a song that never really ended, just changed tempo. One rainy evening, the power went out. We lit a few candles and sat near the window, listening to the rain. Lena reached for her phone and started playing a slow, old tune, something jazzy and warm.
She stood, holding out a hand to me. "Dance with me." I laughed. "I don't dance." She raised an eyebrow. "You didn't wear makeup either."
"Look how that turned out."
I hesitated, then took her hand. We swayed in the candlelight, awkward at first, then easier. The rhythm wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist. Just the soft patter of rain, her quiet laughter, and the warmth of her hand. When the lights flickered back on, we both froze, blinking. Then she stepped back, smiling in that half-playful, half-nervous way that said we both felt it. Neither of us said anything after that. We didn't need to. The next few weeks tested everything I had built. Midterms arrived, stress piled up, and my confidence, the fragile, blooming thing it was, began to tremble. I found myself doubting again, second-guessing every look, every whisper. One night, I snapped. "I can't do this, Lena," I said, pacing the living room. "Maybe I've gone too far. Maybe this isn't me after all." She didn't interrupt. She just waited until I finally stopped talking, then stood and walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Look at me," she said softly. I did. "You are you," she continued. "Even when you doubt, even when you stumble, even when you feel lost. None of that erases who you've become." My throat tightened. But what if I'm not enough for either version? She smiled sadly. "You don't have to choose sides, you know. You're not two people. You're one. Just complicated, beautiful, human." Something inside me broke, and mended, all at once. I didn't say anything. I just stepped forward and hugged her. She hugged me back, whispering, "You've always been enough." After that night, something shifted again, not between us, but within us. The silence that used to feel like comfort now felt charged with understanding. We didn't need to say everything out loud. Sometimes she'd leave little notes before heading to class. "You've got this. Don't forget to smile. Tea's on the stove, for my favorite girl." Other days, I'd do the same, a doodle, a note, a small thank you scribbled on a sticky pad. We had become something beyond labels, not quite lovers, not just friends. We were a bond built on trust, transformation, and the quiet promise of care. One evening, months later, I stood in front of the same mirror where it all began. I ran my fingers through my hair, longer now, styled the way I liked it. My wardrobe hung neatly behind me, filled with pieces that reflected every shade of who I was. And when Lena walked in, she smiled like she was seeing me for the first time all over again. "You look happy," she said. "I am," I replied softly. "Finally." She walked closer, standing beside me. "So what now?" I looked at her reflection beside mine. Both of us changed, both of us braver. "I think," I said, "I just want to live honestly. Whatever that means. Wherever it leads." She nodded. "Then that's exactly what you'll do." We stood there for a long time, just two people, side by side, grateful for what we'd helped each other become. It's been a year since that day. Life moved on. We graduated, found our own places, but our connection never really faded. We still meet for coffee on weekends, still send each other messages full of inside jokes and soft encouragements. Sometimes, when we sit across from each other, I catch her smiling that same quiet smile, the one that started everything. And every time, I smile back. Because even if we never needed to name what we were, I know what she gave me. Not a new identity. Not an illusion. But the courage to love myself, fully, freely, and without apology. And maybe, that's the truest kind of love there is. Midterms arrived, stress piled up, and my confidence, the fragile, blooming thing it was, began to tremble. I found myself doubting again, second-guessing every look, every whisper. One night, I snapped. "I can't do this, Lena," I said, pacing the living room. "Maybe I've gone too far. Maybe this isn't me after all." She didn't interrupt. She just waited until I finally stopped talking, then stood and walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Look at me," she said softly. I did. "You are you," she continued. "Even when you doubt, even when you stumble, even when you feel lost. None of that erases who you've become." My throat tightened. But what if I'm not enough for either version? She smiled sadly. "You don't have to choose sides, you know. You're not two people. You're one. Just complicated, beautiful, human." Something inside me broke, and mended, all at once. I didn't say anything. I just stepped forward and hugged her. She hugged me back, whispering,
you've always been enough. After that night, something shifted again, not between us, but within us. The silence that used to feel like comfort now felt charged with understanding. We didn't need to say everything out loud. Sometimes she'd leave little notes before heading to class. You've got this. Don't forget to smile. Teas on the stove, for my favorite girl. Other days, I'd do the same, a doodle, a note, a small thank you scribbled on a sticky pad. We had become something beyond labels, not quite lovers, not just friends. We were a bond built on trust, transformation, and the quiet promise of care. One evening, months later, I stood in front of the same mirror where it all began. I ran my fingers through my hair, longer now, styled the way I liked it. My wardrobe hung neatly behind me, filled with pieces that reflected every shade of who I was. And when Lena walked in, she smiled like she was seeing me for the first time all over again. You look happy, she said. I am, I replied softly. Finally. She walked closer, standing beside me. So what now? I looked at her reflection beside mine. Both of us changed, both of us braver. I think, I said, I just want to live honestly. Whatever that means. Wherever it leads. She nodded. Then that's exactly what you'll do. We stood there for a long time, just two people, side by side, grateful for what we'd helped each other become. It's been a year since that day. Life moved on. We graduated, found our own places, but our connection never really faded. We still meet for coffee on weekends, still send each other messages full of inside jokes and soft encouragements. Sometimes, when we sit across from each other, I catch her smiling that same quiet smile, the one that started everything. And every time, I smile back. Because even if we never needed to name what we were, I know what she gave me. Not a new identity. Not an illusion. But the courage to love myself, fully, freely, and without apology. And maybe, that's the truest kind of love there is.